January 21st. We would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Put your hand over your heart, City Attorney, and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I will forego the invocation today. And if we, please be seated. And Gabby, if we could please have the roll call.
Councilmember Haves.
Here.
Councilmember Olson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cassidy. Here. Mayor Marshall.
Here. And tonight we have two proclamations. The first one I'm going to read is a proclamation of the City Council of the City of Avalon recognizing January 26th through February 2nd as Avalon School Choice Week. Whereas all children in Avalon should have access to the highest quality education possible, and whereas Avalon recognizes the important role that an effective education plays in preparing all students in Avalon to be successful adults, and whereas quality education is critically important to the economic vitality of Avalon, and whereas educational variety not only helps to diversify our economy, but also enhances the vibrancy of our community, and whereas Avalon has many high-quality teaching professionals in all types of school settings who are committed to educating our children, and whereas School Choice Week is celebrated across the country by millions of students, parents, educators, schools, and organizations to raise awareness of the need for effective educational options. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Avalon recognizes January 26th through February 1st, 2020 as Avalon School Choice Week, dated this 21st day of January. Cool. Thank you. And now we have another wonderful proclamation, and I'm going to go forward. Would you prefer a chair to sit here, or are we good for it? I read fast.
Hold on.
Okay. Literally, hold on.
Hang on.
Okay. I read fast. Okay. Okay. A proclamation of the City Council of the City of Avalon recognizing Josephine Josie Valdez as the oldest living resident born in Avalon. Whereas on January 14th, 1928, Josephine was born at the home of Rafael Gomez and Nellie Cortez on Old Tremont Street and is the eldest of 9 siblings. And whereas as a young child, she met and played with her future husband, Manuel Valdez, at Pebbley Beach. And whereas on July 16th, 1950, she married Manuel Valdez in Los Angeles, California, and returned to the island where her husband worked and lived at El Rancho Escondido. And whereas she was blessed with 4 children, Kathy, Laura, Joe, and Martha, 4 grandchildren, and 7 great-grandchildren. And whereas Josie worked at Las Casitas, The Attic, Busy Bee Cafe, Peggy's Gift Shop, the Catalina Island Chamber of Commerce, and babysat numerous local children. And whereas Josie retired in 1985, whereas Josie is a devout Catholic, avid reader, and artist. That was a new one for me. And whereas Josie celebrated her 92nd birthday on January 14th, 2020. And whereas the City of Avalon is inspired by her long life and offer her sincere best wishes for continued good health, happiness, and an overflowing abundance of love and joy. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Avalon hereby recognizes Josephine Josie Valdez as the oldest living resident born in Avalon, California, dated this 21st day of January, 2020, by the Avalon City Council. Would any of the family like to say something, or Josie?
This lady has been so important to us all our lives since we're little kids. She means the world to us. We come see her, we take care of her, we love her so, so much.
The true meaning of her long life is she likes a margarita at night or a Bud Lime drink, beer.
Good job.
Oh, thank you for having such a wonderful mother. Okay. Be safe. Right, no other presentations? Announcements and written communications?
I have a few things, Mayor. After the DMV was here in October, staff was directed to write a letter to the Department of Motor Vehicles telling them thank you very much for all their time and devotion that they do to our community. And we suggested that maybe with the real IDs and all the numbers of people, because our sign-up sheets fill up within the first hour, they have added an additional day in April, so they'll be here the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. We are finalizing a new contract with them, and we're hoping that that's not just for this period of time, but every time that they come. So we're still waiting to hear back on that, so we're really happy about that they've added an extra day.
That's great.
We are waiting to hear back from the county as to where the polling places are in town. Gabby and I are in the dark on that right now, but they said next week they'll be sending it out to all the city clerks, and then the community will know where our polling places are, but at this point we do not know.
Okay.
Okay.
The other thing we all want to know is when we're going to start getting the results in. Do we have to wait until the next day, or do we just...
Well, the way we're understanding it, Mayor, is that evening we'll be able to go online and get updates like everybody else on the mainland in LA County. But the final, so say if it was a real close race between two candidates, we may not know for a few weeks. They said by the end of March, it was in the 20s, I don't remember the exact date, Annie.
Right.
But we're hoping to know. So
Great.
we are thinking we're not going to be able to swear anybody in until our first meeting of April.
Right, okay. Anything else?
No. Oh, right. Written communications. I received 10 communications on item number 10 this evening. Two of them are some recommendations, a lot of questions and clarification. They were, I would say, not in favor of any additional cruise ships. Two of the letters were wondering why I capped it at 3, and the other ones were all pro the cruise ship. So
Okay.
we'll get into that.
Okay, thank you. Department head reports.
Good evening, Bob Greenlaw, Director of Public Works. One item tonight, we have the Coastal Commission going to be on the island Friday looking at all our projects. So let's make everybody aware that we're going to be around the whole city, especially on the waterfront.
If you need us to go out there and do a little wah-wah or something, I'd be happy to.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to look at a lot of the technical aspects of the project.
I understand.
Thank you.
Chief?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City staff. I just wanted to quickly put out some information and maybe clear up some confusion. Several months ago, the school district brought over some individuals, and they're working on an updated security plan for the campus. It's going to include some fencing. One of the ideas they had was to put a fence across Falls Canyon Road, just past the hospital, or actually past the turnaround at the school. Myself and Captain Hawking weren't in support of that, blocking the road because it would prevent emergency vehicle access. We were also concerned that a closed gate could turn that road into basically a parking lot in the mornings when kids are being dropped off. Secondly, it's not necessarily my road to give away. That's a decision that would have to come up through the city manager and probably ultimately to the city council. There's been some information that's been pushed out at some meetings lately at the school that include that they will be fencing off the road. That is not the case. We're still not in support of that, and that decision hasn't been approved. So I just wanted to make sure and put that out to you as a city council and get it out to the public, because there's been several meetings where that information has been pushed out, that the road is going to be fenced off, and that is not correct. There will be a perimeter, a fence around the perimeter of the school, and they're hoping to have that project completed by the kickoff of next school year.
Okay.
Any questions for me about that or any other subjects?
Not right now. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Audra?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I attended the LTSS meeting last week, which is Local Transportation Systems Subcommittee, so it's for the smaller agencies in the metro region. I'm a board member, and I try and attend every month. One of the things we found out about last Thursday is that Metro is going to be rolling out workshops to discuss rerouting buses, things like that. I was a little upset because they have all the dates. Avalon isn't on here, but we have lots of flyers here up at City Hall. It has a link to a website. You can call them, and I'm working on a webinar. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I think for the people that go over and use public transit on the other side, this is going to have an impact on them. I spoke with Mayor Pro Tem Cassidy, and she will be also inquiring at the COG at her next meeting to find out what's going on there. They just got an approval, so I think it was hot off the presses when we got it on Thursday.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Do we have questions of any of the other department heads?
We
Community
have
services.
one department head that is out sick today, and the other one was on the mainland today for an appointment. So that's
Okay.
why we're two down.
Okay. We do have, Dan, nothing to report? You're good? Okie dokie. All righty. City manager report.
I think I already gave them many.
Okay. Legal counsel?
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
Okay. And council member reports. Who would like to begin?
I will. I have some exciting news to announce tonight. Just wanted to say, to start with, that over the last 3 months, I've been talking to a lot of our citizens and working with groups strategy groups to bring events to the island, and that seems to be what most people want. So I'd like to make a quick announcement and read a little statement. I'd like to announce that I'm engaged in preliminary discussions with the Catalina Island Company regarding plans to bring back the Avalon Grand Prix motocross event to the island. Discussions have been ongoing for the past couple of months, and we're excited to be partnering with the Island Company to revive this historic race. There will be more details to come in the coming weeks, but this is a great demonstration of how we can accomplish extraordinary things when we work together towards common goals.
Excellent. Great news. Yeah.
That's all.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah.
Nothing so exciting as that, unfortunately. I did attend the Contract Cities and the League of California's LA Division Board meeting. A couple scary things coming down the track. One is the fire department tax, which I don't think is applicable to Avalon because we have our own fire department. We contract with the paramedics. But then the AQMD was trying to get taxing authority so they can add a half-cent sales tax to clean up the port, which I don't think benefits us that much, but we'll keep you abreast.
Okay.
That's it.
That's it. Mayor Pro Tem?
I have nothing to report tonight.
Well,
I'll be attending Gateway Cities in 2 weeks.
Okay, we went on the Women's Walk on Saturday. We attended the Women's Walk.
We did.
Which was very nice. And I had fun at story time at the library. So can I announce that Doug Otto's coming tomorrow? Doug Otto's coming tomorrow?
Sure.
Okay, Doug Otto is running for Long Beach Unified School District, the board, and he's going to be at the Brew House tomorrow at 10, wanting to receive your questions and comments about the school, improvements that could be made, or issues, or whatever. So if you would like to see him, he's there tomorrow at 10. Okay. Oral communications. This is an opportunity for people in the audience To comment on items that are not on the agenda, you will be limited to 3 minutes and no action will be taken.
Good evening, Mayor. My name is Kathy Morphopoulos, and I'm a real estate loan officer in Los Angeles, and I'm also a volunteer in community efforts to prevent drug abuse. I'm working to let parents know that the U.S. Surgeon General recently put out an advisory warning about marijuana for teens, for young adults, pregnant, and nursing women. It states that marijuana's increasingly widespread availability in multiple, highly potent forms, coupled with a false and dangerous perception of safety among the youth, this has merited a nationwide call to action. You can find all the information about marijuana use in the developing brain at surgeongeneral.gov. Now, let's move on and talk about the financial side of the cannabis industry, which we often don't focus on. This is an article from the LA Times a few days ago. And it says, California lawmakers say that pot taxes must be cut to provide relief to an industry that is clearly on the brink of collapse. California's legal market has not grown as expected, and the black market has increased. The cannabis industry as a whole lost 35 billion in the last year. The list of pot businesses nearing bankruptcy is growing. I'm sure you've heard of MedMen. It announced 2 months ago that it's cutting staff, it's running out of investor money, and today it's rumored that they're also declaring bankruptcy. One of the provisions of Proposition 64 was having local control. A city can opt in or out of the recreational pot business. I grew up in Sacramento, and the Bureau of Cannabis Control, which is called BCC, is in that area. One of my friends works at the BCC, and I asked her, with all of the bad financial news, the Surgeon General warning, the THC vaping, the freaking severe lung injuries, the deaths, why do some California cities, why are they investing in a high-risk industry? And she said there are advocates traveling through the state to sales pitch council members who might be in rather tough financial shape, and they are grasping at what they think might be a source of income. But those same advocates are saying to our state government that without tax relief, they're going to go bankrupt. So the story varies according to the audience. Until the Sacramento politicians get the black market and the chaos under control, why invite trouble by bringing in recreational marijuana? In closing, a lot of us are pretty old, but the teens and the young adults, they're just starting out. Let's make sure they know about the Surgeon General warnings. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And perfect, you must have timed that, because you did a great job. Right within the 3 minutes, you did a perfect job. Thank you. No, I said you did a perfect job. You got it right within the 3-minute time limit.
Awesome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jim Lujahan, Catalina Island Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau. I passed out at each of your places this evening the most recent edition of the Catalina Island Visitors Guide, edition for 2020, and we're very proud of that. And if anyone is interested in sharing that with their potentially visiting friends and family, they're now available at the Visitor Center on the Green Pleasure Pier. I also wanted to officially invite the public to join us for a Meet the Candidates for Mayor and City Council Candidate Forum. We will be holding that here at Council Chambers on 6 p.m. Monday, February 3rd. And questions can be submitted online later tonight. That wasn't quite live when I walked out the door at catalinachamber.com/election, or we've already shared links to a SurveyMonkey on various social media channels. If someone is not concerned with anonymity, they can also send emails directly to election@catalinachamber.com, but we will see the sender's address there. And those questions will be part of what our MC will read to the candidates that night, and there, of course, will be questions welcome from the floor. And just a couple other upcoming things. It's a busy week on the island. Tomorrow morning, we will be hosting a ribbon cutting and open house with one of our new business members called Catalina Connect. Connect, Catalina Connect, which is a medical cannabis delivery service, and that will be taking place at the Hotel Metropole in the conference room. We are hosting our quarterly marketing meeting with brand guidelines presentation by Crown and Greyhound. That's our new advertising agency on Thursday, January 23rd at 11:15 a.m. in the Founders Room at US Bank. Following that will be our board meeting, and then we'll go into a closed session for some planning strategy. Later that evening at 6 p.m., we will be hosting a mixer with both White Buffalo Thrift Shop and Avalon Pack and Ship, and that will be catered by the Lobster Trap, and the public is invited to attend that beginning at 6 p.m. We do prefer to have an RSVP, and there's a link on our website, or you can call 310-510-1520 to reserve your space.
Great.
Jim, can I ask a quick question? Will
Sure.
members of the public be able to come to the candidate forum and ask questions directly? Okay,
Yes.
I'm sorry if I missed that.
Yeah. If I didn't emphasize it, yes, questions will be taken from the floor.
Okay.
Thank you. Very good.
Thank you.
Paula Patterson, 221 Whitley. I just want to say, it was really nice to see the Highway Patrol here today. I don't know who was responsible for doing that, but I don't know. I don't know what they were doing, but it's always good to see support for law enforcement here. So the next thing I wanted to say is this is breaking news for us, too. So there's some candidates on the dais, and there are also some candidates in the audience. So the Progressive Action Coalition is also holding a forum. We just got our approval today for being able to use the council chambers. That's Tuesday, the 11th of February, also at 6 p.m., and I will be notifying you by email, mail, and yeah, that's how, and right now. And then also, I was going to say, and the way our format goes, we will give you the questions a week before the forum, and then we're cutting it down this year because there's so many candidates, and so we hope you will participate. It's just another good way to get your messages out there, and so thanks very much.
Paula, I'm sorry, can you just say February 11th, 6 p.m. here?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't see the librarian.
Not here.
Oh, gosh.
Lisa Lavelle, also speaking on behalf of the Catalina Progressive Action Coalition. We will be having voter registration outside of Vaughn's starting this Thursday between the hours of 4 to 6 p.m. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and hoping to do it as well in the following 2 weeks after that. We also will be helping people if they just want to confirm what their registration is and make sure they have the right address on their registration. If you don't get a chance to stop by Vaughn's between those hours, you can visit lavote.net and confirm your registration there and update your registration if you'd like to as well. So, thank you.
Great, thank you.
How are we doing? Good evening. I just want to come up and kind of put a face to my name. I am also running for council. My name is Yesenia Saray de la Rosa. Hi, everybody. So that is me. Nice to meet everyone. If you'd like to come up.
Continue to talk in the mic.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I thought I have a loud enough voice. If anyone would like to come and speak to me, I know I'm maybe one of the younger ones, and you have no idea who I am. By all means, please. And I will also personally give you my email. Any social media, since I'm also younger, I use that a lot. So please come up to me. I'd love to chat. I may talk too much, but I'll definitely get to know you, and I would love for you to get to know me as well. So, and then I did also order 150 voter registration cards. So if anyone would like to use that and still using your phone, I have those.
Great, thank you, Yesenia. Okay, so that's it? Nope.
Hello, Rhonda Kalish. Hello, council members, mayor. I just wanted to stand up and say that in March the 3rd, of course, we're having the ballot coming to vote. And I just wanted to say something because of the fact of the opening of the medical marijuana tomorrow. And a lot of people are confused thinking that this is it, that medical marijuana, it's all encompassing. But on March the 3rd, there will be an advisory vote on the ballot asking if the people in Avalon would like to have recreational marijuana and storefront or dispensaries available. And we need to remember that these are two separate objects that are coming before us. Wrong word there. But I just want to encourage everybody who's watching that still to this day, this is a hazard to our community. And I'm just thinking tomorrow when school is going on and we've been having so much upheaval in our community on what we are doing, is that how many of our 18-year-olds will be there at this? And it's a concern to me, and I know they are adults, but it's still a concern to me, and I just want to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda. Okay. Any others? Okay. We shall move on to the consent calendar.
We have 7 items on the consent calendar this evening. The first one is minutes from the January 7th, 2020 regular meeting of the City Council. Second one is warrants for a total disbursement of $1,063,636.66, and that's from the period of December 28th through January 10th. The third one is to adopt the resolution accepting the fiscal year 1920 second quarter treasurer's report. And I just wanted noted that the city treasurer was way back 1913 when we were incorporated, that it was an elected position, and so we'll be coming forward for some names with you, I guess, to appoint somebody until we can figure out how to unwind this and how we should move forward.
So should they be giving their name if they're interested in being considered?
If they're interested, and we would have little criteria, yes. Yeah. Some criteria. Yeah. We have nothing in the municipal code that outlines exactly their job duties. So it was very interesting. The first year of our in 1913, it was elected, and then they swore the person in, and then a few weeks later they were appointing somebody else, and it was routine like that. We went through about 3 or 4 different city treasurers that were elected, and then somebody was appointed, so we don't know what transpired.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so I just commenting on that just because of the treasurer's report, so we had Matt signing off on this one.
Okay, thank you.
But we do want somebody else to be reviewing us. Number 4 is to authorize the bid solicitation for Phase 1B, the Community ADA Ramp Project. Number 5 is for the City Council make the affirmative finding that conditions set forth in the Avalon Municipal Code had been met and grant the waterside permit application to Catalina Scuba DBA Scuba Instruction and Guides with the following condition: that the applicant abides by the standard list of conditions for waterside permit holders, and that was included in your staff report. Number 6 is to deny the Catalina dive and repair request for the waterside permit application as it did not meet the requirements of the City of Avalon waterside permit application because there's a deadline of December 15. Number 7 is to deny Island Enterprises request for a waterside permit application pursuant to sections 10-2.416A, 8, and 9 of the Avalon Municipal Code.
Council?
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve items number 1 through 7 on the consent calendar.
Second.
Second, is there a comment? Call for the vote.
All ayes.
We have a public hearing now. This public hearing is for approval of the fiscal year 2020 and 2021 Community Development Block Grant funds, and Audra, who is our expert in all that, is here in the audience if you have questions.
So we just kind of did this last month because we had some extra money left over. So this is actually the way we're supposed to do it, which is to have this heard by the City Council before the end of January, which then required us to only have a 14-day public notice period, and then this will be rolled into the Los Angeles County, they have a new acronym, Development, okay, forget it. Anyhow, LOCTA, don't ask me, they will incorporate what we want or what we plan to do with their comprehensive county public notice. So we're getting on the good side.
Great. Okay.
So I'm going to step aside if anyone has any questions, but the recommendation is to use the 40,000 plus or minus to continue the city's ADA curb and ramp project.
Excellent. And I'm sure that has been discussed with Mr. Greenlaw, so you're on the same page.
I sent the staff.
Okay, all right. Okay, comments before we open the public hearing? Okay, we'll open the public hearing. Would anybody like to comment? Hearing none, we'll close the public. Oh, come on. Sorry.
This could be a completely ridiculous dumb question, but what about, is this the, I saw what the places were for this particular project, and it isn't the ramps across from, it has nothing to do with the railings on the ramps across the street in Bonds. Can we use that money for that? Apparently not, maybe?
Yeah, that's already in the queue.
Okay.
It's already in the queue.
Awesome.
Yeah, from the prior one.
Okay. All righty.
I'll make a motion to,
We got to close.
I did.
oh, she did.
Great.
Twice.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to authorize the city manager to approve the proposed allocation of fiscal year 2020-2021 Cdbg funds for Phase 2 of the ADA curb and ramp project.
Second,
Moved and seconded?
as long as the real plans are in place.
Yeah. Call for the vote.
All ayes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 9.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. The item before you today is the consideration of an ordinance that would amend Chapter 4 of Title 3 of the City of Avalon's Municipal Code. And this is to implement the Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting Act procedures and policy procedures for public projects. And I'm just going to refer to that, because it's a mouthful, as the Act. So this is the Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting Act. So this act it was established by the state of California back in 1983. It is a voluntary program, and it basically gives local municipalities, counties, special districts additional flexibility in the execution of public works projects under a certain dollar amount. And there are a lot of benefits to this. It speeds up the award process, it expedites the project delivery, and then it reduces some of the administration, such as time, effort, and expenses for those types of projects. So back in December of 2018, City Council approved a resolution that authorized the city to enter into the state program. There were two different requirements that we needed to do in order to be fully vested in the program. One was to send a letter to the state controller's office informing them of our intention to join that program and to attach a copy of the resolution. The second part of that was to adopt an ordinance that amends the Avalon Municipal Code and basically adopts the state purchasing procedures. And I'll just briefly give a general overview of what those procedures are, because as I mentioned before, there's a lot of benefits to this. So we've already done that. We've sent a letter out to the state controller's office. We've attached the resolution. Now the final step in that is to amend our municipal code. And basically what this does is it allows us to have greater flexibility in a couple different areas. Number one, for any projects that are $60,000 or under, it allows the city to use its own city employees to do the work, what they call a force account, or we can go into a negotiated informal process with a contractor. So it raises the threshold and allows us to move forward in a much more expeditious manner. For anything from $60,000 all the way up to $200,000, the city would go through an informal bidding procedure. And the informal bidding procedure would basically just, it's a low bid, so if you send that out, contractors who are interested, we would send that out to an approved list that the city would maintain. Anybody who's interested in could put in a bid. Lowest bid would be awarded the contract, but it expedites that process a little bit more. If there are no bids, then the city can actually use its own employees, or it can choose to negotiate a contract directly with an approved vendor. So there's two different options that the city has that we didn't necessarily have. And then the last thing is anything that's over anything over the $200,000 threshold would just be subject to the same formal bidding procedures that we already do. So we would go out to a formal RFP, we'd shop it out. Anybody, not just those on the approved contract vendor list, could apply for or submit a bid, and they're welcome to do that anyways. Just allows us to utilize the local contractors prior to getting to that 200,000. But after that, we're still subject to the same contract that we normally would. So that's kind of the general broad overview. These limits are actually periodically addressed because they're set by the state, they're not set by the city, so those thresholds are reviewed once every 5 years. The last time that they approved this was back in January 1st of 2019, and the last increase prior to that 2019 was back in 2011. So sometimes they approve increases, other times they don't see the need for it because they look at things like the economy, the CPIU, the cost of inflation, and other factors. So with that, the recommendation before you is to introduce and waive all readings of the ordinance, and here in case you have any questions.
Council questions? General, yes?
And I would note that the underlying contract itself, which we've recently revised and updated, that remains the exact same. It's still got all the protections for the city. This is just a process that governs the bidding and how we actually get people to sign up and do the work, but the contract protections that we have still remain the same.
I was wondering about that. Okay, thank you. Wasn't that on your mind too, Owen?
Right on the top of it.
Okay. Thank you, Michael Farmer.
I'd like to move and introduce and waive all readings of an ordinance of the City of Avalon amending Chapter 4, Purchasing, Title 3, Finance of the City of Avalon's Municipal Code to implement Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting Act procedures for public agencies.
Okay,
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. No further comment. Call for the vote.
All ayes.
Okay, number 10 this evening is the development of a cruise ship policy, and I guess I want to start off, Mayor and Council, and to the public, that I do not take this decision lightly. It's been a very serious, weighing very heavily on me for a couple weeks now, and I probably rewrote this staff report 5 times. And so I'd like to, I think most people that are in the audience tonight know exactly why we're here. And so the one thing tonight that I hope that the City Council will do, and that is to approve the policy, which establishes some guidelines. And I know that some of the letters we received talk about some of those issues that are in the policy. And I just want to address a couple first, and then I'll do a little summary of it. Sure. And the first thing is that was noted is that if the decision to make an additional cruise ship, first it's capped at, I'm asking you to cap it at 3 right now, and if tomorrow Disney came and asked to come into our port, yes, JJ no longer would be able to make that, or the harbor master would be able to make that decision. It would come up here to here. Usually when it comes into my office, I'm consulting with my city council members when they're coming into my office. And at that point, if we had to make a determination for a 4th ship, I know that it would be right here before the City Council to make that decision. And the other thing I wanted noted, that this is strictly a resolution to adopt policy guidelines. So if after the election we have 3 new members sitting there, or 2 new members, or whatever we have, that City Council can direct staff to bring the policy back, and they could either eliminate cruise ships or they could increase it. So this isn't like a binding forever and ever. And as the policy says, I'm asking for it to come back to the City Council for revision or for reconsideration, and after you get a report to see what the economic impact, the impact of the quality of life of our residents, and everything else. So just for a really brief recap, in October 1st of 2019, we came before the City Council to talk about the economic impact, to discuss about the marketing incentive and the process for the approval. just to clarify everything for the public. And at that time, the city council directed staff to go out and get some answers from the public, and that was how many days of the week would you like the cruise ships, which days would you like them in our port, and what is the maximum number and size. So then we came back on December 17th with an overview of the public input, and staff had asked some very specific questions of the council, and those are outlined in the staff report. It was further guidelines if you wanted to limit the number, to prohibit cruise ships on specific days of the week, and if you wish to limit the number of visitors allowed to disembark off the cruise ships. And after discussion amongst the council and much input from the public, staff was directed to come back and to provide the daily sewers, wastewater, and trash collection counts, to consider a possible removal of the remarketing incentive, consider a possible increase on the wharfage once the rate reaches that $5 in 2021, and to determine how to include the Spanish-speaking community members in the discussion regarding the economic impact of the cruise ships. So the staff report outlines what the information that we found out from our wastewater treatment plant. And I just would like to touch upon a couple things. My real experts are in the audience, and that would be Bob Greenlaw and Michael Palmer, who now has taken over that contract also. So just at our wastewater treatment plant, because some false information was provided, and I just want to clarify something. Our wastewater treatment plant has the capacity of 1.2 million gallons per day. And we are saying that it's at an average of 65%. It's average, and that was in 2018. In 2019, it was down to 60%. And that, I think it was said that somebody in the audience said that we were at capacity. And actually, our flow is going through the pipes, not at the plant itself. And so we had a CCAP report that was done, and we are in the process of even redoing that, because that was all part of our cease and desist. And it referenced the size of our pipes. So we were at 75% capacity of the flow of going through our pipes, which we are in the process of changing some, and we have already made to larger pipes. And at our landfill, after speaking with Avalon Environmental and looking at all the data they provide to us monthly and yearly, it's hard to determine that our cruise ship people are contributing more than, say, our weekend visitors or anybody else that comes to the island. And we have some reports that we've really started to separate what Eddie Vega is, our local contractor along Front Street, which would be our daily visitor, all daily visitors. We have started to separate that out in September, and that also helps with our Cal Recycle grant for our recyclables, and that is minimal from the reports that we're getting from the landfill. The water is a whole nother thing, because the reports that we get from Edison every month are on the desal, how much water production is coming from our 2 desal plants, and then it will give us the not just how much water it's producing, but how much water demand is there in the town. And it's hard for us to say if it's the residents, if it's commercial, or if it's a visitor, whether they're a cruise ship visitor or a visitor on the Catalina Express.
Don't forget the flyer.
Then, as everyone knows, we had a request last week from Royal Caribbean for a year-round, and we had already approved, city staff had, the harbor master and myself, for them to come during the summer months of 21, 22, and 23. So now they are requesting to come year-round, still starting at that same 2021 date of July, so I'll say July 1st, year-round, all the way through August of 2024. So if, in essence, if you were to adopt the resolution with these guidelines, then that would give us the authority to approve Royal Caribbean's request. We have them on hold right now. I want to really note that we will be coming back with discussion to have the marketing incentive removed, to how, if you would like to proceed forward with that, what it would look like for us to increase the wharfage, and at what rate do we want to consider for that, and any other fees that we think that we would need to recoup from the cruise lines. And that would be definitely at a near date. We could look at this as a trial period of sorts. Can we do a 1 year? I don't think so. I think we need to have more time to analyze any data that we're going to be accumulating from these visits. Do I want to impact the community that I live in to a negative? No, I do not. And as I said, I take this very seriously. I'm a member of this community, just like the rest of you that are in the audience that might be against any additional cruise ships. But as the city manager, and my recommendation to the council is to move forward with an additional one, because the city, for many reasons, but mainly is the financial. And we have come to the city council at least 2 times, maybe 3 in the last year, different ideas to raise revenue, and it's always been to impact our cross-channel, which affects us here. So this is a way it doesn't affect that in that sense. Yes, I understand it for the ones that think it affects their quality of life. So I guess that's what I want to say. If you have questions for me on the report.
No, I'm good.
Well, then I'll say a couple of things. So I think the marketing, it's not in the resolution, and I don't know if it has to be, but the marketing incentive, is that something that we all feel should go away? Do we have to vote on that, or what?
It's not on the agenda.
Okay, but
No,
but she's talking about it, so we
Yes,
should
so
make
that
a
I will
comment.
be bringing that back, definitely, Mayor.
Okay, but it sounds like we want to.
Regardless, if you adopt my resolution this evening, we would be bringing that back for discussion.
Okay.
Because I know that the community is interested in that.
Okay, and also the increasing of the wharfage, that definitely will be coming back.
Right.
Okay. So I just had a question. I mean, I don't know what possibly could go wrong, but if something went wrong, how do you stop them? What do you do? That's okay.
Well, the city
they're
reserves
not in
their-
the harbor, but they could dump outside. Let's say they did, and I'm sure they're not going to. But if something happened, we can just tell them, no, you need to go away now. I mean, is it that simple to tell somebody like that to go away when they're parked outside of our harbor, or do we then look at the, or do you approach the tender and say, I'm sorry, then you can't come into our? How would I can't imagine what would go wrong, but I'm just thinking.
Annie, I don't want to just give you an answer off
Yeah.
the top of my head. I would really like to come back with a thoroughly investigated thing to know what our rights are.
Okay.
Besides the millions of dollars of fines that they would have to face, they do have a lot of government regulatory agencies that they have to abide by. Yes, have they messed up? They have in a few ports, and I know that they're paying heavily for it.
Right. And then, but I don't know if I know this for sure, but the government, the money doesn't come to the city of Avalon. Probably those fines don't come to the city.
I wouldn't think so.
What's that? Yeah,
No.
and that's a shame. I mean, if, where they do the damage, you'd think that would be where the restitution should be made, but, okay.
I would think it'd be like an oil spill that they're responsible for the cleanup, so.
Right.
If anything directly impacted the city, we have redress against them for any actual damages that are caused.
Thank you. Okay.
That
you do
remains-
know.
That
Okay.
absolutely is a fact. And again, we don't have a contract with any of the current cruise ships.
Right,
It's
right.
just an agreement that they come.
Right, okay. Would the community
An
like to
oral
comment?
agreement.
Wow, this is quiet. Come on in, Glenn. Up.
I'm not sure this is the exactly correct time, but I wasn't able to hear all of that. I just wanted to say that after a busy and crowded summer, I really enjoy the quiet of winter. Right now, for instance, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I'm not in any way dependent on those visitors. So it's just, I have a business, but it's not dependent on them. But most of my neighbors are. They just are dependent on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we should face up to the fact that we are a visitor community, that our economy is based on visitors. And most of the jobs and so on, or a huge majority of the jobs, are based on these visitors. So my conclusion from all that, although I enjoy the quiet in winter, is that we should be encouraging visitors, and we should not be looking for artificial and arbitrary ways of limiting them. And I think that one of the things that we could do that might make the situation better is to spend a little effort on how to manage these visitors better rather than trying to exclude them. And one tiny example of this is one of the things that we used to do but haven't done much recently, and that is to have Sheriff's Department volunteers down on the front street helping people and assisting and, of course, advising the Sheriff's Department if there are problems. Mm-hmm. So I think we should look more in those directions rather than setting arbitrary limits on the number of ships or whatever.
Okay.
Thank you. My name is Glenn Gustafson.
Interesting. And I approve that message.
Council, good evening. I'm here to read a letter from Leslie Warner. So it's about 8 minutes long.
I think we've all received it.
I'll acquiesce my time because what he has to read is extremely important, as will Richard.
Everybody okay with that?
Can we do that?
There's 4 people that have that released their time, so it's up to the mayor. But
Okay.
that would be 12 minutes of time for 8 minutes.
I'll read fast.
Okay.
Thank you. Dear Mayor and Avalon City Council members, thank you for your dedication to the future of the City of Avalon and your thoughtful consideration of the major issues facing our town. I am unable to attend the meeting, therefore I request to please have my concerns and questions printed for your packets and incorporated into the record at the meeting. The following questions are in regard to items number 10 on January 21st, 2020 agenda, although some data regarding the impact of cruise ships to our community and infrastructure was gathered. I believe you need more factual and detailed data and thorough investigation and understanding of these impacts. Impacts of the wastewater treatment. The peak is noted at 65%. What is the highest capacity the wastewater treatment plant can handle and for how long? It is my understanding it is 75%. Have you received the final study on the current status of the plant and its estimated lifespan or costs to repair the plant in the next 5 to 10 years? The study of factual information is necessary in making your decisions about the impact of more cruise ship visitations. Item number 2, impacts to the Pebbly Beach landfill. The findings state the impact of the cruise ships is negligible and the data is inconclusive. What specific data was provided by Edmundo Vega, who picks up the trash from the waterfront receptacles? Did you ask the landfill administration to provide data for Tuesdays and Sundays, assuming the trash comes largely from the day before, just to compare the intake from Mondays and Saturdays? What is the expected life of the landfill, and when will we have to barge all trash to the mainland? What is the estimated increase in cost? You should have all this information to assist you in your decisions regarding future cruise ship visitations. Impacts of potable water facilities. Currently, we are not experiencing a water shortage. However, we know that the future of our water supply is unpredictable. What is the safe annual yield that SCE is able to provide? This number was supposed to have been readjusted after the drought. How many extra people can we provide water for in the next 5 to 10 years, especially in drought situation, and at what cost? So to quote Additional strategic improvements such as trash to energy facilities, pipe and valve replacements, desalination enhancements, bidirectional enhancements to the reservoir water lines, etc., are scheduled that will be further enhance and improve the city's sustainability and efficiency for water, trash, and sewer. Please be more specific as to when these projects are scheduled to be completed and how they will be funded. This is the first I have heard of a scheduled trash to energy facility. Please provide details on that project. Environmental and conservation efforts. What is the impact of the tenders on Avalon Bay? Are they adding to the problems we are experiencing on South Beach? Regarding environmental efforts, please see the attached report card for cruise ship lines from Friends of the Earth for 2019. The final grade for Carnival Cruise Lines is an F, and Royal Caribbean a D. What specific strategies are you proposing to co-develop the cruise ship industry that you feel will make a difference? Why are those not being investigated now before you agree to more negatively rated polluting ships? Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines, it is stated the city staff will approve the request of RCCL to visit Avalon year-round on Wednesdays from July 2021 through August 2024. This is a huge leap from the original 53 visits in summer only to a now proposed 165 year-round visits. It is my understanding that this is the only recommendation of city staff and that you have the opportunity to negotiate a different agreement or demand more critical legal or other pertinent data before allowing this agreement to be executed. Would you please explain how these agreements are made, considering it has been stated that there are no contracts? Are we as a community ready for 175, in parentheses, 156 scheduled plus repositioning ships, etc., cruise ships a year? You realize that is basically one half of all the days of the year that we will have cruise ships in port. Will they only be paying $5 for the entire period? When will you have the opportunity to negotiate the price for all cruise ships beyond 2021? It is my opinion that this staff recommendation is mature, unclear. It is in my opinion this staff recommendation is premature, unclear, and made without full consideration of all the impacts of our community. Financially speaking, other Southern California ports charge more in wharfage fees, and we deserve the same economic opportunities, especially because we are a tiny town trying to support our infrastructure and mitigate the strenuous impact of thousands of visitors on our small community. Recommended policy guidelines, quote, staff recommends establishing the following guidelines for resolution to provide an equitable community strategy in managing cruise lines requests calling on Avalon as a port of call. Please help me understand how the written approval of the city manager provides equitable community input on more non-scheduled cruise ship visitations. Basically, with the guidelines offered, the city manager could approve 4 or more cruise ships a week with written consent. There are no restraints on the number of cruise ships passengers allowed to visit in one day. This authority needs to be reconsidered and have very detailed restrictions. The city manager's decisions regarding additional cruise ship visitation should be brought before our council members so that their community constituents can provide input. Conclusions. Staff will review the city's current marketing incentive and wharfage rates, ordinance, and develop a negotiation strategy regarding an increase in cruise ship wharfage. This strategy needs to be developed and implemented now. Please request that these negotiations begin immediately and provide detailed guidelines on how much and when those rates will go up. Finally, if you agree to have cruise ships in port half of the year, have you considered the impact of the quality of the Avalon experience for our longtime visitors, our summer home property owners, our residents, and other daily and overnight guests? Are you biting the hand that feeds you? What is your vision for the future? Thank you for the opportunity to voice my concerns and questions. The decisions that you make regarding cruise ships will impact our residents, visitors, and ultimately the health of our planet for generations to come. Respectfully, Leslie Warner. And she included the report card. It's basically, there are, Disney Cruise Line is an A-, and then there are 9 Fs, 5 Ds, and 1 C-. Thank you.
I
I wrote you all a letter, so I'll be succinct as possible. But I do have someone said they'll yield their time to me if I need it, but I'm going to try to shorten it up here. So first off, I just want to say I've read Leslie's letter. I just heard that wonderful presentation, and I agree with all her concerns. I'm Kathleen Hill Carlisle, 311 East Whitley. I implore you to find a way to take a step back from the decision that has been made to increase the number of cruise ship visits per year. I want to ask you to take a serious look at the impacts to our community, to let all the people of Avalon be heard on the subject, to consider the pollution, the beach erosion, to consider the impact on our public restrooms, our wastewater treatment, our trash, our landfill, etc. Consider the traffic increase and the noise of golf carts and tour buses on cruise ship days and the sound systems blaring from the ship itself. Consider maintaining the charm and the quality of life for residents and our visitors. Pass laws to prevent unelected staff and city employees from unilaterally making decisions about increasing cruise ships, as the impact to all our lives should be considered and cannot if we the people have no voice in the matter. Conduct pollution, air quality, and water quality tests on cruise ship days to determine the effect on our environment so that we can make an informed decision on whether we want to risk more exposure or not. Require ships visiting Avalon to use cleaner fuel if they want to visit here. Require ships visiting Avalon to have better filters above the normal standards if they want to visit here. Charge the ships more and use those funds to build a community center, make improvements to the mall and other necessary infrastructure, and address all the concerns raised by Leslie. There has to be some balance. I was born and raised in Avalon, a tourist destination. My family has always embraced visitors and joyously shared the island with them. But part of what is so special and so unique about the island is its charm and its quaintness, its quietness and its connection to nature. We have always accepted that there is a busy season. And with the advent of the cruise ship, now we accept that there are a couple busy days midweek. But adding Wednesday is just too much. That leaves only one possible quiet day of the week, Thursday. I remember when the cruise ship started increasing. I remember that it helped the economy. Do I need to tell you who yields to me?
No, you still have time. Use those 30 seconds or something.
But then the shop owners started pushing for more, expanding their stores. Why couldn't they just be happy with the increases they already had? Why did we need more? The biggest complaint that I hear from our hotel guests is about crowded streets and tours and things on cruise ship days. It's complained about online too, because I have guests call to book a quiet midweek stay, and they ask which days are not cruise ship days because they have heard how crowded it is and how terrible it is. So right now, I can tell them to come in Tuesday afternoon, and they will have a quiet Wednesday and Thursday. If you add Wednesday cruise ships, we really have nothing to offer them for a 2-night stay that'll be midweek. I'm almost finished. In Venice, Italy, thousands of locals protest cruise ships visits because there is no balance. The negative impacts are far outweighing the economic input from the cruise ships. Venice is having to take a step back. It is finally looking at the impacts of the pollution from the big ships and the overcrowding. Venice isn't Venice anymore. They even got cruise ships to agree to use a different kind of fuel with less sulfur in it to help limit the pollution. But unfortunately, upon Port Authority inspection, they have found that the cruise ship companies are cheating and using even worse fuel. I've given you the statistics in here, 2,800 times worse than what they told them they would use. There's nobody in our port that's going to go out there and board the cruise ships. Or maybe we can make those laws so that we can go out there and board them and make sure that we're not going to get more pollution. They say it's the equivalent in a cruise ship day to having 14,000 cars. So the pollution is a big deal. Also problematic in Venice and important to consider in Avalon. They wrote in this report, since Venice has experienced a sudden increase of cruise passengers, an overwhelming number of souvenir shops and low-price, low-quality restaurants have opened targeting day trippers. These kinds of businesses has contributed greatly to the increase of rents and the disappearing of many local shops and activities, as well as artisan shops and authentic traditions of Venice.
Okay, is somebody ceding their time or whatever you call it?
2 sentences back, yes.
Okay.
I understand and respect the importance of the cruise ship business to our local economy, We have all adjusted to the increased tourism and the jobs it generates, but we cannot go further down this rabbit hole. We must respect something that matters more than the profit of the few: the health of all islanders and visitors, the protection of what is inherently charming about Catalina, and the respect of the environment. And I listed in here, you guys can go over, and it's in the packet if anybody wants to read it, things about sewage discharge and ships, what they can do and the hazards, the pollution risks, and that's it. Thank you for letting me be heard.
You're welcome, Kathleen.
Paula Patterson, 221 Whitley. I want to say, first of all, I really want to thank Denise for giving us as much time as she has, for being really thoughtful and knowing how much this is important to so many people here, and giving us the time that you did. So my biggest concern is that there is a perception of sorts that, well, for me particularly, we're against cruise ships, which we're not. I mean, I am as aware as everyone else in this room that we depend on tourism. And my question is, and my concern is, the concentration. I don't have any objection to cruise ships in the wintertime. It's okay for me to have, we could have 3 or 4 is fine. But what concerns me is that the comparison that we've used to find a port on the California coastline that most compares to Avalon is Santa Barbara and Monterey, because those are both places they don't have berthing facilities. They use tenders as well. So starting in 2021, we will be having 160 scheduled cruise ships, and we could have any more on top of that, as many as, on top of that, under 1,000 passengers. So that could be, we can add another 30 or 40 onto that. So the part that concerns me is that we are so small, and so we're just pushing our infrastructure, our patience, our just the look of our island with this many cruise ships. Santa Barbara and Monterey allow 30 cruise ships a year. I think it's Santa Barbara that just upped it to 30. So, and they only allow them on weekdays, and they only allow them in the wintertime. And we're looking at 160 plus. And then my other concern is just the money. On this resolution that was put forward for today, it says, the first thing says, whereas the city of Avalon is a premier island destination for cruise ship vessels in Southern California. And I believe that. We are a premier destination, and we deserve to make the money that we should. And yes, I understand, I saw the estimates, but they are estimates. And you can't really define which is cruise ship and which is just regular visitors, I don't think. I can't figure that out if you could, but I'm just saying, what are the tenders paying that are coming in from the Carnival line? They come, I watched today, there were, in the span of 10 minutes, there were like 8 ships back and forth. So what do they give the city for using our floats that badly need repair? So that's all I want to say about that let's not push it to where we're sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to put the question out there. It doesn't have to be answered right this second, but does the tenders pay a harbor use fee as well?
They do not. So the wharfage that the Carnival pays to us, they pay the tender to come in. So no. So in a roundabout way, yes, we're getting it from the wharfage from the cruise ship.
Our code says rather than them pay a certain fee, it's based on the passengers that they deliver. So they're paying it, but just through the wharfage fee that you're going to be talking about at a future meeting, adjusting upward.
Mm-hmm. Right. Council, want to make any comments before other people speak? No. Not for now. No.
David Thompson, 110 Chimes. I was really surprised to see that RCL went from wanting to just do a trial period next year to wanting to basically have year-round. And they went. It seems like they went from that decision in 30 days. And that's a lot for the people that are here to kind of digest, because it's like, well, wait a minute. you keep thinking that, like, why does this, it's so fluid on their part. So I guess we can just be as fluid on our part too as to what we want and when we want it. We don't have to make decisions tonight about this. There's way too much happening. If you look at the, with Carnival or any of these cruise ships, if they're getting 150,000 passengers a year, and each person is maybe spending $500 on their cruise ship, it's $75 million that they get. They are the biggest enterprise that is in this harbor. It's in Avalon. And it's, are they a member of the chamber in Avalon? No, they're not a member of the chamber. I called Jason today at the hospital. He said, have they ever donated any money to the hospital? No. Have they ever donated any money to anything in this town? No. The amount of money that they're making, I'm sorry, but the city is getting reamed. It's ridiculous. So we have more going for us than Santa Barbara or any of those other places. And we do have a very limited area that we can put our sewages and our trash, and we're charging way less than they are. It's ridiculous. Right now, like I said before, we're only getting $3 per head for the 2 days. And they're getting $7. And we have a much harder time dealing with the whole infrastructure. We don't have hills that we can, do things. We're on an island. And I'm really surprised that we're basically kowtowing to these guys. I can't understand it. We didn't have cruise ships before the island survived. We don't have to worry about cruise ships. What we have to worry about is a balanced approach. And, having 2 separate lines 1 day a week would be really good, because that way they would maybe have a little competition between them and not take it for granted that we just kind of roll over and do whatever anybody wants. So the city should consider this. I think this should be on the ballot. I don't know if it can be on the ballot for this coming session. Too late?
Too late.
So when's the next ballot? November?
November.
As far as I'm concerned, the whole thing should just be, you guys have to decide 2 cruise ships is plenty. 3 is too much. Everybody likes 2, people don't like 3. And if you go around and want to query people on the street, they'll tell you the same thing. It's a very common thing right now. So if you wanted to invite RCL, tell Carnival, okay, guys, you got a year, but you're going to have to get rid of this incentive ship within a year. And that's my opinion.
Thank you, Dave.
Jack 2C340 Wrigley Terrace. I hear what a lot of the people here are talking about and their problems that they feel with the local community, but from a businessman's standpoint, we have to have employees, and at best we have employees that live here, and those employees need to have year-round work. And it can be very difficult for these people in the winter when there's no business here, because we don't have any additional business that comes like a cruise ship without having to stay overnight. They're here, that we can hire these people, give them year-round wages, which they spend in the community. Well, without it, you got problems. You can have issues with people being out of work, theft, all kinds of situations. So there's a balance. If we can keep our people working and have employees, and right now it's very difficult to find employees. And the costs for those employees, they've gone up for us, so we have to raise the rates of our food and issues like that. To remodel, we have to be very cautious that we have income to pay for these remodels. So it's a balance there as well for us to operate and serve these people, as well as local people. We need to focus also on the help. And help also has problems with housing too, right? So it just keeps going. So don't forget to look at the issue there. People want a year-round job. They're willing to work. No people, we can't hire people. We only have 1 or 2 people. They only work 1 day, 2 day a week, 3 day a week.
Right.
Okay?
Thank you,
Think
Jack.
about that too.
I just wanted to make a little counterpoint to something that was said, not having the benefit of seeing the report card that gave the poor grade to Royal Caribbean. I've shared with some of you individually that I know Royal Caribbean is a member of the Global Sustainable Tourism Council and is meeting their criteria. They're also endorsed by the World Wildlife Fund. So, I was aware that Disney had a very high rating for most of their environmental policies. So I just wanted to share that, despite whatever value was given on that report card, they do demonstrate a proactive and conscientious effort to be one of the leaders in the industry.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
Micah Phillips, 318 Metropole. This is something that's going to affect everyone, and what we're hearing tonight are the loudest voices on either side. I like the idea of putting it on a ballot, maybe have a few old-fashioned town hall style meetings so we can get a few ideas and get the whole community to come up with some ideas to put on the ballot in November. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Roberto Perico, Senior Vice President of the Airline Company. I would like to, I'm in support of what has been said tonight in some of, to an extent that we are a community. We live on an island, and our economy is fueled by the tourism and the number of visitors who come and visit Catalina on a yearly basis. I would like to focus mainly on this shoulder season, because if you look at from November to March, we have almost no visitors coming to the island. A limited amount of people come and visit. And as Jack Tutsi said earlier, we have employees who cannot work, or we don't have enough hours to offer to our employees. And we as managers, as owners, as citizens and residents of Catalina, we need to think about what are we talking about today for the future of our community. We are working with the school on a hospitality program that focuses on developing the students to have a more bright future here on Catalina. We are looking ahead to develop these new generations that eventually are going to be at this city council meeting and talk about the future of the Catalina Island. So I think we really need to think about what sustains our economy, what gives the opportunity for our community to grow and develop our citizens and professionals and have a bright future with their family. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Council, Rob Walker with the Island Company. I think we have a few more people representing what the business community would project as a great opportunity for us to continue the business environment here on the island. I applaud the council and I applaud the city manager for doing their due diligence. We have differing opinions on how we come to the conclusions and facts based on the necessity or not to pursue further cruise liners coming into the harbor. It's a tough decision. I respect everybody's position. It's easy to find fault, and it's easy to find ways of not to do things. It's more difficult to find ways to do things that are thoughtful and in the best interests of all people. Part of the Island Company, I think Roberto summed it up best. We're a business. We have a vested interest in the community. We have a vested interest in the ownership. The Wrigley family has been in and involved in the island for a whole century. And I mean, Mr. Wrigley would probably revel in some of the debate that's happening here tonight, but certainly had a vision that the island is open to everybody. And if that's local people and community members, if it's over town, or it's cruise ship guests that want to showcase to their families a little exploratory sessions that even for 2 or 3 days and a repositioning tour, they are the best marketing tool that we have. The more people that are influenced and actually get to see our community and what we do from a hotel perspective, food and beverage perspective, a small business perspective, or just enjoying the beautiful landscape and the trails and the water sports here, that should be open to everybody. I completely understand that there's a lot of necessity to relax and take a little time off during the shoulder seasons. I certainly am one that enjoy that as well, but I also respect the fact that since I've been here for a very short time, for 15 months now, every time I've come to City Council, there's always a topic of infrastructure improvement. There's the recreational center that is in purgatory right now. There's the school issues that is kind of in purgatory right now. There's the hospital, which is somewhat, we've got a plan for that, but it's going to be 8 to 9 years down the road. At some point, we need to reinvest in our community. We need to reinvest in the infrastructure. The one way, the easiest way, the most profitable way of doing that is taking a look at these type of opportunities. We, as the Island Company, employ upwards of 650 people, all community-based primarily. We have some seasonal staff. But as Jack had mentioned, and we're going through this exercise right now, whether it be a guest-facing decision or an economic decision that we make on a regular basis, we are compressing our operations in the shoulder season. The theater is a good example of it. The spa is an example of it. The golf course is an example of it. We would rather not make those decisions, but we're being responsible corporate citizens in this community. So I know we have some other people here that are going to reflect the same thing that I've said, but we are advocates of a third, potentially even a fourth. Respectfully, we need to do our due diligence. We can't hold on to this for another ballot, seriously. We need to act fast, prudent, and decisively. So, thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Does anybody else want to speak?
Good evening, Council. My name is Darnell. I'm not a resident of the island, but I've been coming to the island since 2018, about every month. And so I'm a member of the Conservancy and the museum. And I think the one thing we need to look at is the quality of life on the island. That's one of the reasons why I call this island my second home. The cruise ship, you kind of have a median here. The cruise ships bring income, but somehow we have to weigh what is more important, the money issue or the quality of life issue. And I think that's what we just really need to look at. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Darnell.
Hello, my name is Alejandra Barriga. I have a quick, I guess, statement. I'm not for the cruise ship and I'm not against the cruise ship. However, I do see that, and I'm not impacted by the cruise ship either, but I have been a server before for Island Company as well as other locations, and I can tell you that we don't get much revenue, so it would be nice to hear from the actual servers, not the managers or CEOs of the companies, how much revenue the cruise ship really does leave us. I don't see how it helps the hotels because they don't stay overnight, and I honestly know that most of them don't even eat on the island because everything's provided for them. I do, however, see a lot of people complaining when there is a cruise ship on the amount of traffic and the amount of stops that are ran and people that are intoxicated and violating the law. So I think before you make a decision, you should take that into consideration and talk to people that are servicing them and if they are really gaining anything from any of the cruise ships. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Got to be a little quicker, Lisa.
Getting crotchety. This is Lindsay Mattingly, 115 Olive Street. I know that you guys want to get going and do something or not do something on the cruise ships, and there's one alternative rather than waiting until November to vote. It would be to vote with the first new city council that's voted in. And that way, the city council members could state their positions as they're running, and then the constituents can vote accordingly. And that way, the constituents would have a chance to put in whether they would like cruise ships or not. And you could, you could vote accordingly one way or the other, whichever way you want, but at least the constituents would feel like they had a choice. The bonds was a huge deal, and city council had to really, sweat a little bit about how they voted on that. And to me, this is a much larger deal than bonds. And no offense, but the city manager shouldn't have to have that whole responsibility. I think that's a lot to put on the city manager to decide yes or no whenever a cruise ship's going to come. So anyway, that's just my suggestion.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay.
Lisa Lavelle, 239 Descanso. A few things. One, I don't know that I could afford a family vacation in Avalon if I was a visitor coming here. My current income doesn't allow me to actually bring a family of 4 for a weekend. The potential to actually enjoy a cruise that goes to multiple locations, I think, might be better justified, and the price per day per person is significantly less. So that's one thing. When everyone talks about that quote of Mr. Wrigley welcoming the shop girl and everyone else, more shop girls can afford that cruise than they can the boat and everything else that gets added onto it. So I would consider that you're actually welcoming people who may not be able to come otherwise. They're finding Avalon and falling in love with it. The way that I know they're falling in love with it is that we participated in a campaign with the Chamber 2 years ago for the Back to Catalina campaign. And the reason I know this is because we just had our 200th guest purchase food tour tickets from us from that campaign. They were given an incentive, a little coin that gave them a website to visit. That website had a number of promotions from different companies throughout the town, and they were able to use them on a return visit only. So to know that we've welcomed back 200 cruise ship passengers at full fare for trips that varied between 1 to 3 days usually, I think is a benefit and something to consider. I don't disagree with any of the environmental statements that have been made. I think there's a lot of room to grow, and everyone knows that. The bigger picture is to find ways that Avalon can help drive change in that industry by partnering with other ports in California to be able to say maybe the Die Don't Lie program is good for everyone in California, not just us, to say that we will be a more environmentally sound state in general. But I also know that change, especially in an industry that big and that has that much money where we don't, is incremental at best. So I don't know that that's going to get answered anytime soon, whether it's with this council or the next one. But I would argue that we can start those conversations and see what we can do to help improve. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Lisa. Well, I see a lot of people standing in the back of the room. Are they just holding up the wall, or do they have something to say?
Hold up the wall.
We appreciate you all being here.
The wall was holding me up. Mary Stein. I read the resolution, and I appreciate the work that went into that with all the information that had been given over the last few months. And I think limiting the cruise ships to 3 weekdays, no weekends in the summertime is the least that can be done. And thank you for that, assuming this is the resolution that's going to be voted in. But I had a little problem with the off-season time because I think we could use more cruise ships in the off-season. I'm a business owner. I have employees that need to pay rent year-round. We have lots of visitors in the summer without cruise ships, but those visitors aren't here in the winter. And I think the cruise ships impact the quality of visit in the summer. We've talked about this tonight already. I won't go into that. But in the wintertime, when the streets are empty, why don't we have more cruise ships in the winter? That would further our attempt to be a year-round economy. Because just all in the summer doesn't help my employees. It's even harder on them. And I'm sure you find that all around town.
Right. Thank you, Mary, for your comments. You gotta be
Yesenia,
quicker,
373 Tremont. I want to piggyback on what she was saying. I definitely think in the off season we would need some cruise ships so we can keep working. But when we have them consistently in the summer, it's hard to give, as a server, I was a server for about 7 to 8 years. It's hard to give good quality service to people who are here for the entire week, where I can be getting a 10 plus tip to just getting constantly $1 every day. I can't pay my rent like that either. So it's just something to consider for the working class people.
Okay, thank you.
Michael Ponce. I am in favor of the resolution that Denise has put together. I also agree that maybe looking at adding cruise ships in the winter when it is quieter. I actually took a photo today of Front Street at 4:30, and there's 5 people on Front Street, dead. I have a lot of my guests who come to the hotel who will say, oh, we've been here before. And I go, oh, really? When were you here? And they go, oh, we were on a cruise ship. We didn't spend the day, but now we wanted to come back and spend the night and see what it was like. So they do bring people back. But I think Denise worked really hard in getting the resolution that we're at, and I think it's very fair. But it can always be changed. A new council could always make changes, tweak it, whatever we want to do. But just to say that's not good policy. So I think we need to keep the lines of communication open, but I think what has been brought to you is pretty fair for right now. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. Well, I do want to say, I think we got all of the candidates here, with the exception of maybe one. And you all know, all the candidates sitting up here know that we had to provide information to the Catalina Islander by tomorrow, which will come out on Friday, which will have all of our positions on the cruise ships. So, read them. That's all I got to say is read them.
Yolanda Montano say. First off, I just want to let you know that, Denise, I just want to thank you so much. When I opened that up and read it, and you had a bunch of facts for us, that's really important in order to make the important decisions that you guys do on a monthly. The cruise ship does not impact the business that I am in, the hotel. However, the cruise ship is only one element of the quality of life on Catalina Island. If we do not have visitors coming, and I know I'm beating a dead horse, we do not have the revenue that we need and is required to sustain the city of Avalon. We've been working year-round. We've been working really hard year-round to make this a year-round. We've been working really hard to make this a year-round destination in order to keep our employees employed. It is very hard in the winter to walk down the street and see businesses closed. This impacts our residents that have to pay rent here and live here. I do understand the summer months we are very busy with just regular day trippers and overnight stays. However, my hotel is running 60% occupancy year-round. So right there, those are facts that we are not at capacity with visitors overnight, year-round. I walk down Front Street in the summer on a Thursday on a Wednesday, summer months, this not cruise ship days, Wednesday and Thursday, I found at least 3 businesses shut down. Now, if we were over with visitors coming to us in summer months, those businesses, I guarantee you, would be open. Quality of life is important to me. I was born and raised here. My great-grandparents were brought here to work in this industry for the Wrigleys. 5 generations. So this is how we lived here, by visitors. There's balance. I feel all this can be mitigated and should be, and we should be held to a standard to make sure that it is done properly and our quality of life will still be here.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is it 7:30?
No.
I'll be quick.
No,
Bryce Knoll, 342 Eucalyptus. I guess one of the things that is perplexing to me about this whole situation is the summertime I completely understand. From a capacity standpoint, we definitely are pushing the limits in terms of not just comfort, but bonds lines. In the wintertime, I guess my challenge is it's one thing to say there's too many people, this is starting to either get uncomfortable or dangerous, and from a public safety aspect, as the city, that is your responsibility. In the wintertime, to say we'd just rather take a day off and enjoy an empty island is something that my generation doesn't understand. You guys grew up in 40-hour work weeks. I grew up in 60-hour work weeks. It's just normal for us. So having the ability to have extra income when you're already working. On any given day in the wintertime, Leo's is employing 7 people, whether there's 3,000 people in town or 10. And when there's 10 people in town, we do 10 transactions an hour, which not only does not pay the bills, it doesn't even keep the lights on. Thankfully, there's enough revenue in the summertime to make up for that, but it doesn't allow for a whole lot of extra considering the cost of doing business and living on the island. And I think that once you start going down the road of limiting business in the wintertime, when there's clearly not a capacity issue, you get in a dangerous road. If the Catalina Express had a giant event and wanted to bring over 10 boats a day in the wintertime for 3 months in a row, would you guys be asking questions? Would you guys be limiting them? Because when you're limiting a cruise ship, you're basically saying, we won't allow these people to come over.
Yeah.
And will you say that same thing to Catalina Express? And at that point, are we right back up here asking the same question that we're asking right now?
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Bryce. Okay, how do we want to move this forward? Are there people who want to speak? Oh, okay, so this is it? Okay, so you already spoke, Mary. Oh, excuse me.
Did you record that? I'm just take away 2. I'm just curious,
yes,
because I'm reading the resolution and I'm reading from the conclusions.
Yes.
But the resolution doesn't say anything about reviewing the current marketing incentive for that second ship, and it doesn't mention the negotiations to raise that wharfage fee. And I think those are 2 extremely, extremely important parts of the resolution that I don't see written in the resolution.
I asked the same question for both of those issues, and the city manager's response was?
Well, it was noted a couple times in the staff report that we are bringing those items back for consideration for the council. It wasn't the policy, these are just guidelines, Mary, on how many ships we're asking to come in, but we are coming back with a marketing incentive and possibly increasing the wharfage and what that would look like.
So it's really an incomplete resolution as far as
No, I looked at
resolutions
that
go.
was not part of the policy. It's future action on the council's part, but it's not part of the policy of how many ships and what we're limiting of ships itself.
So we're going to have 2 resolutions for cruise ships.
No, just this resolution for policy, if it gets adopted by the council, and me saying how many times tonight that we are coming back at a future council meeting to discuss marketing incentive, wharfage increase, and any other things that we want to throw out to bring
Changing
to
the
tax
code.
the.
That's the changing the code part. And someday we should really talk about cruise ship contracts.
Okay.
They have contracts with people on the island. They have contracts with their tenders, but the city doesn't get to have a contract? That's crazy.
I don't understand it myself, Mary.
Good evening, Council. Andrew Wellham, Triana Lane. I think I'm going to probably echo a lot of the sentiment that you've heard in the room tonight. Turn the winter. I have team members looking for hours, looking to put food on the table for their family, looking to pay their rent, and all of these things, need to be taken into consideration when we think about these things. My background is mainly small island resort destinations, and I can tell you, standing right here, that I've witnessed personally multiple cruise ships on an island the same size, if not smaller, than Catalina on a daily basis. I'm not saying that Catalina needs that or we should have it tomorrow. However, I do know that given the decline year over year of cross-channel visitation, that this would be a crime not to consider additional cruise ships to Catalina, not only to feed the community, to give jobs and put money on the table. It's something that I would strenuously urge the council to consider. And obviously you have my full support and anything I can do to help. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I just would like to make a comment. The city manager did an excellent job in this, and I do believe that she has incorporated the sentiments of the majority. So unless there's new information coming forward, that's one thing. But I have a question about the number of passengers. For example, the Disney cruise ship, is that I'm looking for Jim Lutejohn or somebody. Oh, there you are, I'm sorry. Is that a 5,000 passenger vessel? Is it I'm sorry, if you know that, or Oli seems to know it as well.
Well, Oli, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I want to say it was 3,200. Yeah.
Okay. Because I know there's been discussion about how large the ship should be, and I would think that would be a concern of whatever council be, that it's, I'm sure there's 7,000 passenger cruise ships out there somewhere, but we'd probably go, no, that's not going to work. So I don't know if we include in the resolution something like that as the guideline, or do we feel that we're all on the same page and it doesn't need to be included? That's my question.
I've gleaned in my few years of having conversations with some of the cruise line representatives that tendering on a ship much larger than that Disney ship, it makes it almost an impossibility in our port. You spend all of your time with your passengers lining up to get on or off the tender, and they end up with poor port scores if they do that. So
okay,
we have kind of a natural ceiling, therefore, just because of the practicality of the tendering operation.
Okay, and then with that in mind, still, do we need to put a number in, or no, we can leave it open?
I don't think we do, because it is limiting. You can't do more than 3,000 people by tendering. If we had the floating dock out there, then you have concern.
And that's a whole, okay. Yes, Paula.
Can anyone, what is the passenger count on the Royal Caribbean cruises?
About 3,100.
Okay, so it's basically the same size as the Carnival.
I think it's a little bit more than
That's
Carnival.
Carnival's 20.
Carnival's slightly bigger.
2,500.
Okay. Okay, if there's no other new information, let's proceed. And that's up,
Up to council?
yeah, yes, Councilman.
Probably having more years on the island than most other council members up here.
What? You have bigger ears, but how do you have more ears?
Years.
Oh, years!
Jeez. I thought he said years too.
I'm sorry.
A little history lesson. When I was much younger, and my grandfather was running the Pavilion Hotel, in the wintertime, there were 3 people that worked there. My grandfather, a maintenance guy, and a maid. There's more than 3 people that work at the Pavilion now because the business has gotten a little bit better. When I was running the hotels, on cruise ship days, we had brochure racks right inside the lobby, and they'd get inundated every summer because people come in and pluck brochures out because they liked it and want to come back. And so it was a great selling thing. One of the good things I think in town is an additional cruise ship day does get more work for our servers and such, because you got, I guess I went the last meeting or meeting before when we talked about when a cruise ship cancels because of weather, who gets sent home? Busboys, waiters, there's no work for them. And I'm thinking anything we can do to ensure that there's good quality work for all of our workforce is a good thing, personally. And so I would be supporting the resolution.
Councilmember?
So my comments would be, since the last meeting that we've had on cruise ships, I've spoken to a lot of people. I've really done some homework. I reached out to a couple people that were definitely negative on cruise ships, had a really good meeting with them and got their opinion, as well as reached out and talked to a lot of people that were not pro-business, that are not directly impacted by cruise ships in the business community. People in different walks of life that are indirectly, like this is the example of Edison or Jordan or different places that aren't directly impacted by cruise ships. And we've heard a lot tonight from the negative of cruise ships, as we heard a lot on the pro of cruise ships. And just from my own independent talking to people, a lot of people, or the majority, are in favor of cruise ships. I did echo what Glenn said tonight about that he likes the quiet days in the winter, as do a lot of them, but understand the economic benefit to the community and what it does for everybody involved on the island. My children are 4th-generation island residents. My family grew up here. I'm very in tune with the economy, and I'm very also in the quality of life, and it's very important to me as well, and everybody's quality of life over here. So I don't think any of us take this decision lightly and just say we just want to have cruise ships. There definitely is a balance. There's a lot we can do to work forward to making things more sustainable for everybody, but at this point I would be in favor of supporting the council recommendation as set.
Do you want to make a comment?
I do. I have just written some notes through everybody's conversation, so I'm sorry that I'm not as well thought out. But a couple points that I want to make is, one, I also, along with Andrew, have lived in several ports throughout the Caribbean. I've lived in several places around the world, and the worst of the worst is a cruise ship, 2, 3, 4 of them, 7 days a week in some of these ports. It is horrible. And along with that comes all these duty-free shops, and it's just not a pleasurable experience to live in that kind of community. So that's something that I take into consideration when making these decisions, is I know what that's like, and I don't want to set our community up for that either. Additionally, I have been involved in some sort of position on the island since 3 weeks after I got off the boat. So that is about 15 years now. I was a harbor commissioner, then planning, then here. And through that time, the cruise ship pier offer has been in front of 4 city councils. And during each of those conversations, the council has always agreed that they don't want to put in a floating pier because that would be the invitation to a barrage of cruise ships coming in. So like the council that I'm sitting with and those before me, I've appreciated the agreement not to put in a pier for the sake of the charm of the community, the visuals, what that would look like for our harbor. So I believe that is a conversation that will likely not come back again, but I think it's been hit up to council a number of times that I want to just say that that's a good thing for our community as well. We as a community need to look at our own environmental issues, not just place upon the environmental issues on the backs of the cruise ships. Every bit of electricity that we generate in this community is generated from a diesel plant. So I did a few hours of research, and for every negative article on cruise ships, there is a positive. So it's difficult when somebody will send me a link to a negative article, and I'll go in and do more searching on it, and I'll find positives to counteract, or I'll find different information. So for every negative, there is a positive out there, which also makes these decisions a lot harder. I was a little bit taken back by the comment, and I don't know, it doesn't matter who said it, but there was a decision before the council that was going to be a difficult decision over the summer, and it was painful for all of us that were sitting up here to go through this process. And I had said to a group of friends that I wish I could just put this on the ballot, or I wish that I could just push this forward to another council. And what was said to me was, we voted for you to put you in a seat to make decisions that represent us. It's not right for you to say, I'm going to kick this to the next council, or I want to kick this to a ballot. We voted you into that position, and we expect for you to sit up there and make a decision. And while that was difficult to hear at the time, it resonates with me, and it really resonated when the comment was made, let's wait for another council. And to some degree, I feel a little sharp pin in the heart over that, because what you've said is that I'm not qualified to make this decision, that you'd rather wait for someone else to do it. And really what could happen is we could all be sitting here, minus maybe one, could be sitting here after the March 3rd election and not have made a decision in that time, and more months go by, and we're all still here. So I just wanted to defend the council on that right, that we have all been voted in by the community to serve in these positions, and I think that we should be the ones making decisions as they come forward to us. And then the other comment there was a comment made about looking at every aspect of the community, and you know, on one side, we have a group of retired individuals who are looking at really what they want their community to look like. Then we have a group over here of business owners that are here and wanting to fight for revenue to be able to employ people year-round, to have quality employees. And then you have this group in the middle, which are the actual persons who are working, and you know, those are people that a lot of us do talk to. I'm not representing up here as a business owner. I'm representing up here as a community member, and you know, I employ a lot of people, and I have youngsters in this community that work 2 and 3 jobs trying to make ends meet. I hear that. I hear from those people. I get stopped for hours every single day in the arcade because I'm visible. I'm there. I know others do as well from being around the community. But you can't make people show up at meetings. And it's hard for us when, you know, you have some saying, oh, you're just a business owner, and some saying, oh, you're just retired and you don't, you know, you're not thinking about this. We are actually thinking about the entire community. That's what we're here to do. So it does make a difference whether you're here or not, but we also received letters from members of the community who want their voices heard, that I want to have a job in the winter. I don't want to be laid off. I need 5 days. At the very minimum, I need 4 days of work. So I just want to put it out there that, you know, we all do look at all these different aspects of it. And then to Mary's comment about bringing back the wharfage and the incentive, in a very brief impromptu meeting last week. I did ask the city manager to put that on an agenda item after March 3rd to talk about when we talk about the fees, the budget, and all of that, that we would have that conversation either before the budget season or around that time. So that has been requested by a city council member to be on an agenda, and it will be forthcoming. So I wanted to reassure you that that conversation will come back. And I know that I speak for all of us in saying that we all want to have that conversation as a separate topic to look at what that might be. But for right now, we have already made an agreement with the current ships that are here. We've made the agreement for what the wharfage is. And that goes through a period of time, but now is the time for us to look at what happens going forward down the road, and we are going to do that. That's it.
Well, I don't know what would have, first of all, that was very well said, but I don't know what would have happened if you had had time to prepare what you just said.
I'm just going by scribbles now. But...
Well, good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We need a little comic relief every once in a while, don't we, kids? I just want to say, the city of Avalon is a business. We have employees, we have insurance, we have facilities to maintain, we have jobs to do. And yes, I'm concerned about the working people having jobs, and yes, I want the businesses because, my God, when you have mandates that you have to be open 365 days a year, or 364, 366, okay. I mean, that makes life difficult for the business owners and makes it hard. So they need as much money as they can get coming in. But the city, when you talk about the infrastructure, I cannot think of, and I'm asking the community, I cannot think of one way to get the kind of bang for our buck that we would get out of a cruise ship to take care of our infrastructure. When you see that the people are here for 5 hours a day, and we can't really see a lot of impact so far on the infrastructures with the work that the staff did. I just think this is a win-win for everybody, basically. So. Yes.
I think one thing this discussion has brought to the front is the fact that there are some issues that need to be addressed. Congestion, Metropole, Crescent, Catalina Crescent, the Mole.
Clarissa.
And I think, Traffic, yeah.
Yeah, pedestrian and vehicular.
Yeah, those are things I think we can work on. And I think hopefully there'll be some good solutions coming from that.
Yeah, no, I agree totally. So.
One last question of city staff.
Mm-hmm.
If the Royal Caribbean comes in as a third ship, is it possible for us to take whatever wharfage specifically comes from that ship and put it towards a project, a specific project for this period of time?
You could do that through the budget process, but it has to be limited to the harbor.
Right. So hypothetically, which is a project I wish I could get going, is fixing the whole Pebbly Beach Road and recreating a walkway, shoring up the line and making a walkway. I mean, a project like that, is that something that we could do?
Let's go to state lands and ask them.
Well, yes, with the qualification that I would need to look to make certain that our definition of harbor for the fee includes Pebbly Beach Road. It's clear that it's everything from the mall to the casino, but it may also, the definition may also extend to Pebbly Beach Road. But yes, you could, through the budget process, say we're going to use these fees for this project.
Yeah. We could extend the harbor district.
Yes.
No.
I mean, that seems like another positive, that if we said, if the impact for some that feel that to be a more stressful impact, if we were to say, but this is the benefit of that impact for this period of time that the ship is agreed to come in, that's something tangible that we could sort of sink our nails into and say, okay, but this specifically, not just it's going to fix our infrastructure or it's going into the harbor, but it's specifically going towards a project, I think is worthwhile looking into.
And Matt, You're good.
I was just echoing Scott's comment. We'd have to make sure Pebbly Beach Road, as that example, falls under the defined area of the harbor. But yeah, any harbor-specific project, we could dedicate the funds towards.
And I'm not suggesting that it would be that
Right.
project. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that's my pet one that I'd like to see done, but something of that.
Yeah.
Make points with the Coastal Commission, too.
Right.
I would like to move to adopt a resolution establishing a policy providing guidelines for scheduling cruise ships to visit the city of Avalon.
Motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Call for the vote.
All ayes.
That's it.
Well, thank you all for being here.
Okay, we have closed session.
Yes.
This is regarding a conference with this is under the City of Avalon acting as the housing authority. This is a conference with labor, real property and negotiators regarding 206 Whitley, city manager, and Jack and Nora Tusi on the other side.
Okay. And we're back from closed session.
No reportable action.
Thank you very much.
Good night,
Good
Tony.
night, Tony. Meeting adjourned.